What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon and Bets. We're back. We went through a small rebrand, but now we're back with Bourbon and Bets. It just felt right to come back. Avery probably had the best analogy. He said that I am the Gordon Bombay of podcasts. I didn't get it at first. Oh, actually, at first he said the Emilio Estevez, which really threw me off. But then he said the Gordon Bombay because he went from the Mighty Ducks to Team USA and then back to the Mighty Ducks. So that's what we're doing here. Bourbon and Bets is it's our roots. It's where we want to be. Tim's a big bourbon drinker, so we wanted to make sure that we lean towards his interest. Tim, can you confirm?
No, I cannot confirm.
Well, so we got Tim back on the show today. It's been a while since, number one, we've put out any episodes, but with football ramping back up, I wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about some big names in free agency. But before we do that, I do want to give a big shout out to Tim and his wife Megan. They just recently got married, so congratulations to the two of you.
Yeah, thanks. That's probably why you thought I was a big bourbon drinker.
We're not going to get into the details of Tim's wedding night, but let's just say Tim had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's okay though, man. Let's go ahead and first let's just talk about our teams real quick. How do you feel about the Lions and what they've done this offseason with the moves they've made? You excited for the season to kick off?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited for the season to kick off, whether the Lions look like they're, going to be good or not. But I like what they've done. And not only really just this offseason, but really since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell came in, I really think that they've got a plan together and they're moving forward together. So it looks like the pieces are fitting in. Now it is the Detroit Lions. So there's always that room for disappointment. So I'm hoping we don't go down that road, but I'm not ready to crown them the NFC champs yet or anything. So, or the NFC.
Well, I was going to say that you can't crown them the NFC champs.
No, the NFC North champs. I'm not ready to do that like some of the fans on the internet. So, sorry.
However, they probably would win the NFC East.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, I guess the Eagles are still a really solid contender. Assuming teams don't figure out Jalen Hurts, but yeah. What's your take on Jameson Williams? I know that we're pretty far past that whole news story now, but obviously with us being a gambling podcast, it would be remiss to not at least hit on it. What's your take on what he got hit with? What's your reaction to how he responded to it? What's your thoughts?
I mean, my reaction is kind of the same as his. He broke the rules. It is what it is. He's going to serve us 6 games, and hopefully he comes back ready to go. I do think it's a little bit of a weird thing. You're seeing more players right now getting busted on this, to where they're not gambling on the NFL, because we all understand that, right? You're in the NFL, you can't gamble on the NFL. But these guys are gambling on things they're allowed to gamble on. It's just where they're doing it. It just seems weird to me, but it's the rule. So he broke it. It is what it is. Move on from it.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is already going on, but I think there's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be a lot more education throughout the league, because it seemed like there was a lot of rules that a lot of people weren't aware of. But I think Jameson Williams just taking his punishment, saying, "Hey, I messed up," and moving on. I think that shows a lot of professionalism out of him. Looking forward to seeing what he can do this season. I was hoping that he would have a full season this year, but that's just what I mean. My light just shut off, so if the color of my screen just changed a little bit, it's I don't know what's going on with my light, but yeah. So we'll see what happens with this season with Jameson Williams and when he does get to suit up and how that impacts the team.
Yeah, I don't really know that it's gonna. Obviously they didn't have him last year, really. So and they did all right. So I think they'll be fine without him. I just think he adds a little bit extra when he gets back.
Yeah, I think he stretches the field a little bit more with Amon-Ra St. Brown being your go-to receiver. I think having that extra option for Jared Goff, I think that's a big piece, and I think he can have an impact. But like you said, they were fine without him last year. So 6 games, if they can make it through those 6 games and get some wins. Not saying he's like a game-changing piece, but getting him back is definitely going to be an added value.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're going to get with him yet because you haven't really seen what he can do. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are feeling pretty good about your team. I'm feeling really good about Carolina this year. I know that I've made a few little side wagers with you and the guys.
oh,
Uh,
yeah, I forgot we did that.
I really think Carolina is going to be a solid team, especially when we're looking at the NFC South. Uh, Tampa, I think, is going through a rebuild. I mean, if anyone's seen any clips of their quarterbacks at camp, lots of struggles. Doesn't look great, but I mean, still early in the year. Atlanta's still a very young team. Desmond Ritter is going to be taking over the I don't want to say play calling, but he's going to be controlling that huddle now as their starting quarterback. And I like Desmond Ritter. I just think he's gonna need some more time to develop. Um, so I'm not sure what the Falcons are going to be this year. New Orleans is a scary team. I think New Orleans is going to do well, especially with Derek Carr back there. They're going to have a good quarterback now. Who knows what's going on with Michael Thomas? Does anyone know if Michael Thomas is going to be ready for Week 1? Is he ever going to play football again?
I don't know. He'll just be on the Saints roster to the end of time.
Just finessing people, just
Yeah, hey,
the
good for
Zion
him.
Williamson of the NFL.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hating on the fact he's getting paid. Um, but they got a solid defense there too, and then obviously they have Chris Olave as well, who had a great season. So TBD on the Saints, but the Panthers, I think our biggest challenge is going to be the fact that we have a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, but I think he is in probably the best position he can be in for a rookie quarterback, having Frank Reich um, as his head coach, and then they have who do they bring in? Josh McCown to be a quarterback's coach, and who's the other guy? Wasn't he one of your coaches for a while, Jim something?
I mean, the only one that I know that came over from Detroit was Deuce Staley. He was our running backs coach, but
Yeah, no, it was the head coach of yours. Why can I not think of? I could be wrong. I can't remember. I don't have the other name off the top of my head, but he's in a good spot to be developed. Plus, he has Adam Thielen, who is a seasoned vet, very good receiver. He's got DJ Chark, who's been in the league for a while now. He's got Chenault back there. Terrence Marshall Jr. still there, who's a young developing wide receiver. And then they also drafted Jonathan Mingo. But then at the tight end position, they also brought in Hayden Hurst. So a lot of options there for him, and Miles Sanders in the backfield. So he's got a good supporting cast around him when we're talking about that offense. And then that defense is a very solid defense, especially in that secondary. They have Xavier Woods, Jeremy Chin, Dante Jackson, few names I am blanking on right now, but very solid secondary. And then they still have Brian Burns, Derek Brown up front, clogging up the middle, Yetur Gross-Matos. So they have a very talented young team. So I think that this is going to be the year that they make some noise. And the wager that I put on with these guys is I'm saying that the Panthers win 11 games and they go 5-1 in the NFC South.
that's where
I think that they might split with New Orleans, but you look like you got something you want to say, Tim.
Well, I was going to ask, what's their offensive line look like? Because when you're trying to develop a guy like Bryce Young, you don't want him in a Justin Fields situation where he's having to run for his life. And I just truly don't know what their offensive line situation is.
Average, I'd say. I don't have names in front of me, so I can't think of any names right off the top of my head. But I guess that is a big question mark for me as well, just because I haven't done the research on them. I know that was a struggle for us last year a little bit, was offensive line. So I guess we'll see. But if they do have a strong offensive line, I think Bryce Young is gonna succeed, and I think there's a chance he wins Rookie of the Year.
I could see that. I mean, I just think on paper, and paper doesn't really mean much because once you get into the season, things change quite a bit. But on paper, I think it's the Saints' division to lose. So
You're the worst.
I just they just look like they're, again, on paper they look like they're the best team ready to take that step. So
Yeah.
But again, Paper changes once you get into the season.
Well, so speaking of the season, there's still some changes that could happen. There's a lot of big names that are still in free agency. So you want to dive into to these three big names that we have that we want to hit on real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let's start with DeAndre Hopkins. Left Arizona, got released, and now he's looking for a new landing spot. Where do you think he's going to land, and how do you think he changes that team's projection moving forward?
And I don't know. I don't know where he's going to land because, like we've seen, Tennessee has offered him a contract, and he hasn't signed yet. So I don't know. What's he waiting on? Like, is he in it for more money? Is he trying to find a team, that's going to be able to make a run? Is he waiting for somebody to make more space for? What is he waiting for? Because the closer you get, I mean, obviously within training camp, you're going to have some injuries, right? You're going to have probably a couple of guys that are out for the season. I hate to say it, but it happens every year.
It's reality.
Yeah, it's reality. Like, is he waiting for something like that to happen? The further he goes without training camp, he's not building rapport with that quarterback. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's waiting on. There were rumors that he was looking to go back to Houston. And I don't necessarily think that would be the worst position for him with what they've done in the offseason and through the draft. But again, I don't know. I don't know what he's waiting for. I look at some of the teams, you got to look at some of the teams that have a lot of cap. And like, just to come back, the Lions are a team that have a ton of cap, but I don't know that he fits, I don't know that he's a Dan Campbell guy.
Sure.
So, and they don't seem to be bringing in guys that aren't Dan Campbell guys. So I don't know, again, what DeAndre Hopkins is waiting for. And I don't know. I think he wants to land on a team that doesn't have the cap space for him. Like it's looking like, because those reports about the Bills and the Chiefs, and I just don't think they have the room for him.
Well, the Chiefs definitely don't have the cap for him. I mean, they are pretty much maxed out. So if we let's look at the top 5 teams that have cap space. The Bears have 32 million. Cardinals, which we don't think he's going to end up back there, right? So, but they have 26 million. Panthers are 26 million. Colts are 25 million, and the Jets are 23 million. I mean, the Jets could be a landing spot, right? Especially with Aaron Rodgers there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Jets. I mean, out of all those teams, if you're looking at a team that you might think could go there, just with between their offense and their defense right now, that's probably the spot. I don't know. I think the Panthers or the Bears could also get a little interest. Just because they got those young quarterbacks. The Bears just getting DJ Moore. I mean, that would be a pretty good duo. I don't know. I think it's just out of those 5 teams, though, the Jets for sure are the team that I think are ready to take the step if he's looking to win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when I look at those top teams, selfishly, I'd love to see him end up in Carolina. He's getting older. He's 31 years old, but I think we saw that even last year on a limited season, he still put up big production numbers. And having a rookie quarterback, I think that he'd be a great option there, right? Like, you put him opposite of Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, like, that's a very strong, dynamic receiving trio. And having Hayden Hurst as a safety valve at tight end, and Miles Sanders, who can catch passes out of the backfield, like that's a rookie quarterback's dream, having all those weapons. I think the Bears would probably be a really strong fit because they have DJ Moore, and then who's their next best receiver? Mooney, and then Chase Claypool, who I think the Chase Claypool thing.
Yeah, he might be on his way out soon.
Yeah, I mean, he was a one-hit wonder. He was the Lou Vega of receivers in the NFL. Mambo number 5.
That's the only song he ever recorded, right?
I don't know, man. Maybe that's just like Chase Claypool, that one season he had in Pittsburgh. So next on the list after the Jets is the Lions, though. So, but like you said, is he a Dan Campbell guy? Is he going to fit into that culture? And as you mentioned, the Lions are all about culture right now. They want to build a culture where people want to be there. They want it to be positive. They don't want distractions. So I'm not sure if that's the fit. The Colts maybe could make a play just to give their young quarterback a weapon. Anthony Richardson, he would need a weapon, but the Titans do make sense a little bit. They didn't really have a weapon at receiver last year. Traylon Burks is a good young receiver, but still needs some time to develop. Plus, he was hurt a lot last year. I think Hopkins could fit in well there, but I think the Jets, if the Jets offer him a contract, I could see Hopkins landing with the Jets.
Yeah, and to go back to all those teams you were just talking about, there's one team out of all those teams that have a veteran quarterback that really has been there. It's the Jets. So
Yeah.
is he looking to stick around with the team long term? And if that's the case, maybe he does try to look for one of those rookie quarterbacks, somebody that maybe he can kind of help mold into what they're going to be. You mentioned DJ Chark. If you look at the Panthers, you have DJ Chark on one side and Hopkins on the other. Bryce Young can just throw the ball up. You got two guys that can go up and jump up, jump balls, go up for jump balls. The Bears are an interesting, what's going to happen with Justin Fields? Is he going to turn into what everybody thinks he's going to turn into? So it is interesting to know, is he looking to go somewhere long term? Maybe he does look at like one of those younger quarterbacks then, somebody he can help, who he knows he's going to be with forever. Because how long does Aaron Rodgers really have left?
Sure.
I was just going to say, if he wants to win now, maybe you go to the Jets for a year or two and then that's it. And then you're looking to hop another team. But I don't think he's looking to do that.
So with the whole like going to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and being established, that's not an easy division in football, though.
Oh no!
I mean, you play the Bills twice, you play the Dolphins twice, and then the Patriots are a good team too. Like they're not great, but they're average. They're a challenging team when you're going against Bill Belichick. It's gonna be a battle. So if he's chasing a ring, I think the Jets are the best option out of who we've mentioned. However, I don't think it's an easy option. I don't think it's like jumping on the wagon with Kansas City. I don't think it's a similar situation to that, but that does put him in the best position to win now because the Jets want to win now. But he's all like, and I know you mentioned, does he want to grow with the team? He's 31 years old. How much more time does he have left to really have an impact?
Yeah, I mean, well, he just tweeted out, and he said he's going to play until he's not a 1,000-yard receiver anymore. Yeah. So look, I might play till I'm 37, and those things change. The wheels start falling off after a certain point, especially those skill positions. They don't last forever.
Right, and also if he goes to a team where he has a rookie quarterback who, I have high hopes for Bryce Young, but the reality is he could come in and not be a great receiver or a great quarterback in his first couple years, and needs some time to develop, which then also hurts Hopkins' output. So is he guaranteed to be a 1,000-yard receiver with a younger rookie quarterback? I don't know. There's a lot of variables there. I think ultimately I am landing on the Jets as the best landing spot for him, but I'd love to see him in Carolina.
Yeah. Again, yeah. It also just depends on how much money he wants too.
That's fair. Yeah, because at 31, does he want a 3-year contract where he's going to be getting paid $10 million a year? Because I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, is he looking for this to be his last big contract, or is he just going to have to hop team to team the next couple of years because that's what he's got?
Yeah. One thing I do want to look at here that I just kind of popped into my head. What about the Ravens? They don't have a ton of cap space, but if he's going to team up with OBJ and Lamar, it could be an option.
That's just, I mean, if he's looking for, based off his tweet of 1,000-yard receiving, I don't know that that's his best spot. If you're looking to shoot, because they are heavy run, and that's really what makes their offense go. It's not to say that he couldn't hit 1,000 yards, but there's a lot of mouths to feed there, a lot of egos there too.
they're
So
run heavy, but is that because that's what they want to do, or they run heavy out of necessity because they haven't really had a strong go-to receiver?
yeah, I don't know. I think that all that running, I mean, it opens up other things. So I think they've built that offense around Lamar.
Yeah.
They as you can see when Lamar gets hurt, they struggle because they don't their offense is built to be that.
Yeah.
So I think it is by design,
Yeah.
but
That's fair. So I guess to wrap up Hopkins, where do you think he's going to land?
I mean, I'm with you. The most sense says the Jets. I don't know. I feel like he's going to end up more with a team like Tennessee, Carolina, Chicago. I just feel like that's what's going to happen.
They can offer him more money. So I guess it really does come down to what we
Exactly.
talked about. Is it money or is it a
Yeah.
chance at a ring?
And just because he was offered a contract in Tennessee, I don't know what that contract offer was. So, like, is he waiting for something better? Is he going to sign with Tennessee? He might still sign with Tennessee. So,
Yeah. Well, speaking of contracts, let's transition to a running back who just recently turned down a contract. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. So he had an exit from Minnesota. Um, there's still some talks that he could potentially come back and land in Minnesota. I think I've been hearing some rumblings, but I think it's unlikely. Uh, so if the Dolphins turn down, or I'm sorry, if he turned down the Dolphins, have any numbers come out from that contract offer yet?
not that I've seen.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any either. So so I think for him it I think the fact that he turned down the contract shows that it's money driven for him, right? Because go ahead.
Yeah, say he's for sure looking for a certain number. There's a number in his mind that he wants, and they didn't hit it.
Because just like we mentioned in the AFC East, all of those teams have a shot at making a run, right? Towards winning a Super Bowl, just talent in general.
I think there's
So it's
three
not
teams,
that he wants to be on a team. What's that?
but I think there's three teams that have a chance. It's just the Patriots aren't going to be an easy win.
Sure. Um, so looking at that, it's a numbers game. So if he's not going to end up on the Dolphins, where do you think he could end up?
I mean, you got to look at rosters that need running backs, right? So, and then then you have to cross that with rosters that have cap space, and that shrinks things quite a bit. Um, Again, I don't. The Bears just seem intriguing to me again because they got the money. Now they're not. They're not. I don't think they're set up to win right this minute. But if he's looking to stay somewhere long term, again, that could be a team that's building something. Um, all what do they have? They have Herbert in the backfield right now, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
it. Montgomery went to Detroit, so that's a potential spot. I don't know. Again, that's going within the division, which happens.
sure.
You don't see it very often.
You
Um,
don't typically see trades within the division.
well,
I feel
unless
like
you're
you see free agents sign a little bit
yeah,
more.
free agency is different, but
Yeah,
I was gonna say unless you're Detroit, they like to make trades with Minnesota a lot lately. It seems, um, but outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, before this happened, I thought Miami was a lock, but then they went and drafted a running back. So again, does Miami even need Dalvin Cook? Like,
I think that might be why the contract didn't match what he wants, because they're like, hey, we'll take you and you'll be a good piece for us, but we don't absolutely need you.
yeah.
And maybe that's why the number wasn't what he was looking for.
Well, another spot I thought about again, and to come back to them again, is the Jets. You have Brees Hall, who is he going to be ready by the beginning of the season? I know, like they say, they obviously want him to be ready, but if he's not really ready, I don't think he's going to take the field. You don't put a young guy like that on the field unless he's ready to go. So
Go ahead.
I was just say that's another potential landing spot because when you got their number one running back out with an ACL injury, and we don't know exactly when he's going to make it back, Dalvin is a good guy to stick in there until he gets back, and then you got a nice duo.
Yeah, and I was just looking up to see who their backup is, and it's Michael Carter. So not
Dalvin's an upgrade from
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, looking, I don't know. Let me pull up the salary caps again here. So yeah, the Jets would be an option, but that would, so Jets have a lot of money. So are they going to try to just dump every? I mean, do they go after Nuke and Dalvin
Well,
Cook?
that was another good question too, because we saw there was that report that they possibly wanted to sign together. But I mean, that one of them isn't getting the money they want at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. They have the space to do it, but the Jets would have to say like, this is our year. We're going to go all in, because I think from a future cap space standpoint, they're going to run out of money, right?
yeah, but that kind of makes sense, because how long do you really think Rodgers is around?
That's fair.
So if you're going to do it, you got to do it while you got him. And he's
Well,
got Rodgers is what, 1, maybe 2 years?
yeah, I'd say he's probably got 2 years, but then you got Zach Wilson coming in. Just
yeah. Well, maybe that's
former Zach Stonerock Rookie of the Year pick.
Well, maybe that's the deterrent. Maybe that's why they don't want to go there.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that would turn a lot of people away. The guy really let me down.
It happens, Zach. It happens.
Yeah. So I mean, the Bears could definitely use him, and they have the money for it. The Cardinals have the money. Who's the Cardinals? James Conner still?
Yeah. I mean, he puts up good numbers. It's not, he's a big, tough runner, but I don't know. The Cardinals are kind of a mess right now.
I would not want to go to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Unless they called me right now and offered me a contract, I'd go. But that if I were a big name player, I would not go to.
You had other options.
Yeah. What about, so I'm gonna throw in a wild card that I'm not sure has been talked about yet, but what about the Bengals?
Well, what's their money situation look like?
They got essentially 15 million available.
And I could see it. How long? Here's the thing: you sign Dalvin. How long until they get rid of Mixon? Then at that point, because
well, I think that they want to move Mixon anyway, right? Like, wasn't that some talks throughout the whole offseason? Is that Mixon's time in Cincinnati is probably gonna?
I don't know, but I figure if they were going to do that, they would have kept Pirine and let Mixon go. Like, that would have made more sense, if they were really looking to do that. So I don't know that that's necessarily what they're looking to do, just based off of what they did, in free agency. So they've got a lot of interesting situations though too, because they got a lot of future money tied up. Because look at all those guys they're going to have to pay. They still have to pay Higgins, Chase, and Burrow. Those guys are all still on rookie contracts.
Yeah. And I mean, they're going to keep that trio together. So that's going to be a lot of money that they're going to have to.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't know. I just, how can you?
Yeah.
I mean, Burrow's going to have to take the Brady approach though. And not forget about money, but take a team friendly deal.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's hard to do, when he's been injured, so he knows that it's not guaranteed.
Right.
So
he's got plenty of money though. He's from Southern Ohio.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't, but
right.
I'm saying to keep those guys together, it's gonna take some work.
Yeah.
So that's a nasty trio though.
That is. I mean, they are a very, I'd say that, I mean, just having Higgins and Chase, I don't know if there's a better receiving duo in the league right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, no, Waddle and Tyreek.
Oh, Waddle, yeah, Waddle and Hill definitely give them a run for their money.
Yeah, I'd say that's.
Well, and you can start pairing up tight ends too at this point. Like, if you look at a guy like Travis Kelce, now I know he doesn't have a number one receiver like any of those other guys, but you got to look at him as a number one receiver almost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he is their number one receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, who's next on that list? Sky Moore? Who is their
Right?
number one receiver?
Juju still there?
No.
No. Oh, and then yeah, I guess it would be Sky Moore.
Where did Juju end up? He's Patriot.
Yeah, he did go to the Patriots. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, at that point,
I don't
oh
think.
no, they got Kadarius Toney,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and he's dangerous.
He is. The Chiefs are just so frustrating with if you draft anyone on the Chiefs outside of Mahomes or Kelsey. Good luck figuring out who's going to get receptions, who's going to get carries.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off track here.
Well, another team I was thinking of too, real quick. What about the Rams?
The Rams definitely need him. I mean, Cam Akers came on strong again at the end of the year, but he's shown that he's not a consistent option, in my opinion.
Well, and also too, it almost seems like Sean McVay doesn't think he's a consistent option either. So like,
Right.
that's a weird situation.
And Henderson's not there anymore, right?
Who is it?
Daryl Henderson.
No, he got cut. He went to like the Jaguars or something, and then got cut from there or something. So I don't think he's with anybody.
Right. So I after Akers, I'm not even sure who they have, but I think they're in a rebuild year. Like, do they want to spend money on Dalvin?
And that was the thing. Like, they're kind of a mess too right now. I just saw that report that said they tried to trade Stafford in the offseason, and it's like, man, they're going through it.
Yeah. Every team does, right?
Eventually. Well, and they kind of they sold out to win a Super Bowl, and they did it. So good for them.
Yeah. Right. And then again, selfishly, I look at the cap space of the Panthers, and I think like we have the cap space. I'm not sure Miles Sanders is the between the tackles running back that we've that we had last year with Foreman.
Good receiving option though.
He's a great receiving option, but Dalvin Cook would be a good true running back for us. So that's I don't know. That's another option, I guess. I hate to keep circling everything back to the Panthers, but we have the money. We're a young team.
Yeah, when you have the cap space, you're going to get talked about for every option because it's there. The possibility is there.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
So where do you think Cook's gonna land?
I think Miami's gonna work it out with him.
Really?
I think so. I mean, Florida State guy. Like, I think eventually it'll get worked out. Whether he gets the money he wants or not, he's going to look at it as an opportunity to win.
It's fair.
But they're going to have a stable of running backs if that works out that way.
Yeah, because they still have
some Mostert.
Yep, Mostert's down there, and then
who they just drafted.
Was Jeff Wilson? Was he down there last year?
He was, but they just drafted a guy too. Who's the guy they just drafted?
Let you know.
I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but yeah, they just drafted another good running back.
Let's take a look.
Glad you got the phone.
Right.
Little Google device in your hand.
Get all the answers real quick. So they still have Mostert, Wilson, and then I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. Devon.
Yeah.
A Cheney. I don't think that's right, but
no, I don't think so either. But I know who. Yes.
Where is he out of? Let's take a look. Texas A&M.
Sounds right. Yeah. So that's what I mean. He's got speed too.
Yeah.
So that's another
busy backfield. So they'd have to cut. They'd probably cut Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, but that's they would do that.
Right.
It would be a big deal to get Dalvin. So that's eventually where I think he's going to land. Where do you think he's going?
I think that there's a better chance of him landing in Carolina than there is of Hopkins. So I think I'm going to go with Carolina.
All right. That's fair.
All right, let's talk about the last name on our list, who I think is a big name just based off name alone and kind of what he's done throughout his career. But I think you might agree with me on this, that he's declined year over year since he came in the league.
You're not looking for production here.
Right. You're looking for maybe somebody who can punch it into the goal line. Zeke Elliott. So he was just recently cut. Where do you think a good landing spot for him would be? And where he goes, do you think he's going to be a featured back, or is he going to be that second option that we just kind of talked about to kind of steal some goal line carries?
So I've said this from the beginning, like right as Dallas was cutting him, the best place in my eyes for him to go is Cincinnati. And the
Okay.
reason I think that is they can get him on a friendly deal. So again, it's that cap nightmare they're going to be in with Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. It's not as big of a deal with him. I don't think he's getting any crazy long term deal anyway. So I don't think that's that big of a deal anyway. But they just got rid of P Ryan. Their offensive line still isn't the greatest, right? Zeke is a very good blocking back. So at the
Yeah.
smallest amount of use, he's getting used to protect Burrow. But he's still going to make some plays here and there. Again, he's still a guy that can punch it in at the goal line. He can be a third down back. He can still catch some balls out of the backfield, and he doesn't do it a lot. But he has the ability. He's not going to be he's not going to be a feature back. I don't think anywhere he goes. I think those days are behind him. But you still have Mixon to be that feature back, and then you have a guy that you can bring in on packages, and sometimes with Mixon on the field, and just something to protect Burrow a little
Sure.
bit more. So I think that's the best spot for him, and really for the Bengals in general if they're looking for a backup running back. But the ties to Ohio State, but
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of where I lean as well. I think another team in that division. I go back to the Ravens again, just as another option. I know that we hit on that's a running team, but when Lamar does drop back, I think he does need that added protection. So I think that could be a good option there. But I think ultimately all signs point to the Bengals. So I don't really see very many other teams that I think he'd be a great fit. So Bengals are going to be kind of my go-to. That's probably the one that I haven't really been able to plug him into a lot of other rosters and make it work. I think he goes to the Bengals. I think if he can be a 600-yard back as a secondary option to mix in, I think that'd be a good fit.
yeah, again, I don't even know that you're looking for him again to get. Like I would think, maybe like 500 yards. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think you're expecting a lot out of him. But again, if you can get some pass protection out of him, it's just another layer of defense for Burrow, and that's really what Burrow needs, I think, to be, to propel that team. I know they've made the Super Bowl and things like that, but right now they're on that hump of, hey, can we beat the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl?
right.
And I know their record. Burrow's 3-1 against the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs are winning Super Bowls while the
Right.
Bengals aren't. So it's one of those things where you got to get to that point, and I think the Bengals definitely can. They got the
Yeah.
roster.
And I think that's another factor in when it comes time for him to make a decision. If he does win a shot at a Super Bowl, obviously it was very elusive down there in Dallas. I'm still not a fan of Dak as a quarterback, as a winning quarterback. So I think that if he does want to have a shot at a ring, Cincinnati's probably going to be the best landing spot for him.
Yeah. Now, I could still see him going back to Dallas. I mean, Dallas cuts him. They're not going to sign him for what he had. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, he
So,
was on a huge contract with him.
yeah. So, I can still potentially see that. And, a lot of these teams are working through signing some of their rookies still. And, you got to really look at the cap space in that lens. But it is weird because what training camp date's coming up, right? I mean,
They're not far off.
I want to say it's like the 17th or something like that is the date we're training. Most of these teams want their players there
Right.
for that stuff. So we might be seeing some action here in the next week or so.
Yeah, I think somebody like Dalvin Cook is probably going to sign before training camp. I think Hopkins could probably hold out a little bit just with him being a little bit older and maybe not wanting to go through camp and maybe wanting to see how some things play out in camp. But I think Zeke would also probably sign before camp as well.
I don't. I mean, Zeke. I think Zeke will take what he can get. Like, if you sign him during preseason, he's still getting preseason reps.
Right.
But again, you want guys before you want to know they're conditioned and ready to go and able to play before you get into the season. So,
which with Zeke, That's always a question mark.
It's a question mark. That's what I was kind of where I was
Yeah.
circling to that. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's the three big names I wanted to hit on. Anything else you want to talk through real quick before we wrap up?
No, I mean we're kind of in that like the worst time of the year. We're in that dead space where it's just baseball. and and I know you've been betting on baseball more, but I am not a baseball guy, so it's killing me right now.
I bet it, but I don't watch it. I can't watch it. I love going to like a ballpark and sitting with like a group of friends and having a beer
Yeah.
and maybe a hot dog or six and a half, like at your bachelor party. But the environment of a ballpark is so much fun and being there live, but putting it on TV might be the worst thing in the world. I
Yeah.
can't get into it.
Yeah, well, like, and to mention my bachelor party, like, we went to one of like the greatest baseball games of the year, and
And we left and
we
like the
left in
sixth
like
inning.
the fifth or sixth inning, like, and I don't care, like, it
Yeah.
doesn't bother me one bit. So, and like the Tigers pitched a no hitter yesterday, don't care. Like, I'm a Tigers fan, I guess, because I'm a Detroit guy, but like, don't care.
That's one of the biggest challenges with baseball is that the things that are exciting, they're not like a burst of like dopamine, right? Like
Well,
a
there's too many games.
yeah, yeah, and I equate baseball to like chess, right? There's a lot of strategy and it's like the pitcher versus the batter and things like that. But I don't enjoy watching chess. Like I respect the fact that there's these great minds, but it's not fun.
Yeah,
People who play it, they love it. They're like, man, like there's like a diving catch is the most exciting thing. Like for you maybe, but I'd rather see a toe tap drag and the back corner of the end zone. That's a catch I want to see, not somebody diving forward and catching the first out of the top of the third inning. Like it's not
yeah.
exciting for me.
And I get it. Hitting the baseball is probably
Hard.
one of the hardest things to do in all the sports. It's just not exciting to watch.
I'm
It's
pretty
not.
sure. So last time I played baseball was in seventh grade. During tryouts, crushed the ball. Like I think that's why I got picked up because I was a big guy who hit the ball well. I struck out like 37 times in a row. Like in batting practice, the coach threw me underhand pitches and I struck out. So I know somebody out there is gonna come at us for talking about baseball. I'm not saying the sport's not hard. I'm not saying it doesn't take talent to excel in it. It is not exciting, is what I'm saying.
And I agree. So, but
So,
but anyway,
all right. Well,
so
Tim, I
just
appreciate you coming out and well, not coming out, but jumping on
yeah,
and being part of the show today. Looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. The reality is that we, and by we I mean I, really wanted to try to incorporate other sports previously, and I just I don't love sports like I love football. And I think that that's a consensus amongst everyone. Tim, I think you would probably agree. I mean, outside of like hockey, I know you love hockey, but football is just a lot more exciting to talk about. Baseball is not something that the group enjoys talking about. Basketball is more so like a me and Avery type of deal. But again, it's such a long season and there's only so much you can really like talk about. But yeah, I mean, we're coming back around. We're gonna make this more football focused, and then maybe have some other guests that aren't necessarily sports related, come on and chat with them just about other things going on in the world. But yeah, so you should be seeing us a lot more. The goal is weekly. We're gonna try to get out an episode weekly for everyone out there listening. So do me a favor and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. YouTube's where the world's going. Everyone is intaking a lot more content, or digesting a lot more content from YouTube. So we're gonna put all of our videos up there, try to make them a little bit more appealing to the eye, as opposed to just me and Tim side by side here on the screen. But that's all going to come with time. We're working to get better, and we want to put out a better product for everyone out there who's watching and listening. So that's going to be coming. But Tim, you look like you wanted to jump in and say something about football versus the other sports.
I was just gonna say, I mean, there's just so many games and football. Like when you're talking NFL, college football, every game matters.
Yeah.
So I think it's more exciting to talk about on a weekly basis, and it's easier to keep up with. And
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with baseball, I mean, they have games every night, and that's a lot. That's why I don't do fantasy baseball either. There's just way too much to keep up with. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. We're Go ahead and also find us on social media. We're gonna be switching all the branding back over. Straight Up Locks was fun while it lasted. I think 2 or 3 episodes maybe. But now we're back with Bourbon and Bets. This is our roots. This is what we enjoy most. So I'm looking forward to putting out a lot more content for everybody. But Tim, any last minute thoughts?
No, just thanks for having me on, and I look forward to being able to jump on more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great
So
game.
thanks everyone for tuning in today, and we will talk to you soon.